The streetlights along Hawthorne Avenue cast pale cones of light onto the gleaming asphalt, their glow fractured by the morning mist that clung to the city's edges. At 2:37 a.m., the downtown district was a waif of itself, shop windows shuttered, neon signs flickering in uneven rhythm, and only the hum of distant traffic to remind any passerby that life still pulsed just beyond the darkness. Detective Mara Quinn stood under the yellow halo of a broken lamppost, her breath spiraling into the cold air like a ghost of a memory she couldn't shake. She checked her watch again. 2:37. No change since she'd punched the numbers. No calls, no text, just the steady drip of water from the storm drain beside her, each drop echoing like a heartbeat through the empty block. She straightened her leather jacket and considered the scene before her. Minutes ago, patrol officers had discovered the body, a young woman, no more than 25, laying face down on the curb, one sneaker kicked off, her blood pooling in the gutter like spilled ink. The victim's name was still a question. No ID, no phone, no wallet, nothing but her phone's shattered screen, cracked in a spider's web formation, and a single red rose clipped through the laces of her boot. Mara's stomach knotted, and she forced herself to lean in, to focus. She'd seen dozens of bodies in her career, but this one felt different. There was intention here. Ritual, stripped of ritualistic showmanship. It was as if the killer had wanted nothing more than a quiet, unavoidable statement. I was here. Detective Quinn. Officer Reyes approached. Hands slipped into the pockets of his uniform coat. His breath made small clouds in front of his face. We've canvassed the block. No witnesses yet. No security cameras in range. The closest one is 2 blocks north, but it's angled toward the street, not the sidewalk. Mara nodded. Any sign of a struggle? She knelt on one knee, careful not to step in the victim's blood. With gloved hands, she scanned the ground around the body. A shattered phone screen, a few drops of clear liquid, water, sweat, and the victim's purse slung open, its contents neatly scattered. A small tube of lipstick, a compact mirror, keys, a bus pass for the 14C route, and a lipstick-branded card reading Maya Chen, digital marketing specialist. Maya Chen, Mara murmured, standing. So she works at the Pine and Willow Agency. She glanced up at Reyes. Run that name. Get her photos, her address, and her background. Find out if she had any connections to anyone suspicious. Reyes nodded, already moving back toward his cruiser. Mara lingered a moment longer, taking in the rose. A single fresh crimson bloom. The stem snapped short and thrust through the sneaker laces. It had no thorns, that much she could tell, and it soaked up the streetlight glow. The petals, slick with blood. Her gaze drifted northward along the deserted block. In the distance, a silhouette passed beneath the glow of another broken lamp, too quick to be human, or maybe not quite human. Mara's chest tightened, and she reminded herself to breathe. There was no time for paranoia. Detective. Reyes's voice brought her back. He held out a glove and a plastic evidence bag. Found this by the dumpster, 5 feet from the body. He dropped the glove inside. It was dark leather, expensive looking, and it bore a thin red smear along the thumb. Mara slipped it into her pocket. Good work. Secure the scene. I'll head over to the agency and talk to her co-workers. Let's move fast. The Pine and Willow building was an old brick office converted into open-plan cubicles, and at this hour it was deserted, apart from the glow of a lone desk lamp and the mechanical hum of an overnight janitor's vacuum. Mia's desk sat tidy, family photos pinned to the partition, a half-drunk coffee mug, and a desktop wallpaper of a smiling golden retriever. Mara guided Officer Reyes through the darkened rows, the echo of their footsteps emphasized by the sterile quiet. At Mia's workstation, she crouched and surveyed the scene, careful not to brush against the keyboard. On the monitor, the login screen blinked for inactivity, and on the desk, a steno notebook lay open. Mara flipped it over, revealing a few hastily scrawled notes. Campaign lunch, media pipeline, urgent meeting, 9 a.m. Someone left in a hurry, Mara observed. Reyes tapped one of the photos. Family, maybe? Mara examined the framed picture. Mia hugging 2 children, perhaps siblings, under a summer sun. Or nieces. She pocketed the photo for evidence. And no sign of forced entry. Whoever did this either knew her or moved her out fast. Reyes exhaled slowly. I'll run building security, but I doubt the cameras were picking up the alley where we found her. Mara nodded. Get what you can. I'll head back to the station, start pulling Mia's files. In the meantime, tap into traffic cam footage, anything within a 1-mile radius for the last hour. As she turned to leave, she paused at a cluster of sticky notes adorning the cubicle partition. One read, Happy anniversary, Mia. Can't wait for dinner. Another, Don't forget the client call at 8. Beneath them, scrawled in red marker on a whiteboard, We'll crush the competition. Something about that last note made Mara's scalp prickle. It wasn't personal, not yet, but it spoke of ambition, of hidden pressure. Digital marketing was cutthroat. Could someone Mia crossed lines? Broken contracts, stolen ideas, enough to provoke a violent response. Mara's phone buzzed. A text from dispatch. Name check complete. No criminal record. Licensed driver. Apartment at 412 Elm Street. She stared at the number. Elm Street was in the East Side District, an area known for old wood frame homes and hidden streets. If Mia lived there, she'd walk home here through Hawthorne Avenue, which meant the killer could have stalked her route, timed her steps. Her phone buzzed again. A 911 call log from a street north of Pine and Willow. Caller reported hearing screams at approximately 2:15 a.m. The location was an alley entrance between Maple Cafe and the old hardware store. Mara's pulse ratcheted up. That alley intersected with Hawthorne Avenue roughly a block south of the scene. She tapped out. Reyes, check that alley now. See if any forensic evidence remains. On it, he replied. Mara exhaled, then squared her shoulders. There was no time to second guess. The rising adrenaline lent her limbs a blade-edge clarity. She climbed into her cruiser, radio crackling to life. Dispatch, this is Quinn. I'm en route to Elm Street to canvass the victim's apartment. Notify East Side Command. I want officers stationed at key intersections on Hawthorne, Maple, and Elm. If he tries to circle back, we'll catch him. Copy that, Detective. She drove from the downtown grid into the East Side residential stretch. Passing under dim streetlights, she saw the boarded-up porches and overgrown hedges that promised no witnesses. Elm Street came into view. Battered houses leaned at odd angles. Papered windows revealed curtains protective of dirty secrets. Mia's apartment, 412, was on her right. A narrow stoop of cracked concrete led to a red door hung with chipped gold numbers. A single ivy tendril curled along the threshold. It felt like a threshold into the abyss. Mara parked across the street, stepped out, and approached the building. The lobby light flickered, and the hallway smelled of damp plaster. She called out, Apartment 412, Detective Quinn, East Side Precinct. Police, let me in. No answer. The door to the stairwell was unlocked. She pushed it open, climbed 3 flights, each step groaning under her weight. Every floor was darker than the last, the narrow corridor lit by a lone overhead bulb that buzzed like a pissed-off hornet. When she reached 412, the door was slightly ajar. Mara's hand dropped to her holster. She pushed the door with her shoulder and peered inside. The living room was neat, undisturbed, except for the phone and wallet missing from the coffee table. The TV remote lay on the couch cushion as though Mia had just set it down. She stepped over the threshold, careful not to disturb any prints. The apartment was modest, a small kitchen to the right, bedroom straight ahead. She called softly, "Mia? Detective Quinn. Can you hear me?" Silence. Mara crossed the room. A framed photo of Mia with her father stood on a bookshelf. The expression on Mia's face was bright, almost jubilant, completely at odds with the cold seriousness of crime scene photos. Mara crouched, peered under the bookshelf. A high-heeled shoe. Black leather, scuffed at the heel, toe bitten by time. Her heart kicked against her ribs. That shoe was gone at the crime scene. Only one sneaker had been left behind. The killer had torn through Mia's apartment after the murder. Why? To take something precious? Or to remove clues? Her radio crackled in her ear. "Detective Quinn, officers report the alley between Maple Cafe and the hardware store. They found tire tracks, a blood smear on the brick wall, and footprints leading southbound on Hawthorne." Mara stood and smoothed her coat. "On my way." Back on Hawthorne, the morning light was just an idea on the horizon. Pale violet encroached the deepest night. Mara crouched by the smeared blood on the brick wall. It was dark, probably dry by now, but still identifiable as human. She'd seen darker stains during undercover operations, and this one felt like a signature, a mute scream transposed onto brick. She followed the footprints pressed into the soggy ground. They trailed south until they ended abruptly at the curb where Mia's body had lain. Then, nothing, like the killer had vanished into thin air. Mara tapped into her phone's camera. She snapped multiple angles. The wall smear, the tire tracks, they were SUV-sized, the footprints. Then she noticed something else. On the edge of the sidewalk, in the gravel, glinting in the lamp's wake, a single metallic object. She lifted it with a gloved finger, a small dog tag, engraved with the initials J.S. and a serial string beneath. She slipped it into an evidence bag and rose. Somewhere in the city, J.S. belonged to someone, a friend, a family member, or a stranger with blood on their hands. Mara looked down Hawthorne. The damp air carried no answers, only questions. Her phone vibrated. Reyes had traced the glove found by the dumpster. It belonged to Jonathan Sanders, a security coordinator for Pine and Willow 3 years ago, terminated for misconduct. Mara's stomach clenched. Jonathan Sanders. She tapped out. "Reyes, bring me everything on Sanders. Address, current whereabouts, known associates." Seconds stretched. Then, Sanders was interviewed by Internal Affairs for stealing from the company. He vanished after termination. No forwarding address. Last known phone ping was 8 hours ago near the river docks. Mara inhaled slowly. River docks. A dead zone after midnight. She turned to Reyes, who had just arrived. "Get a team together. Secure the docks. He'll show up there. He always did." Reyes nodded and sprinted for his car. Mara watched him go, then exhaled. Rain began to hurl tiny diamonds from the sky, and the street lamps faded to yellow halos in the mist. A mile away on a deserted pier, black water lapped against rusted pilings. A lone figure waited by the rail, shoulders hunched, coat collar pulled high. His fingers toyed with something, maybe the same red rose, maybe a memory. He turned his face to the river wind and whispered into the night, "Bloodlines redrawn." And then he stepped back into the darkness, unseen. Mara Quinn watched the rain wash across Hawthorne Avenue, the evidence bag in her hand fluttering like a flag of warning. Somewhere out there, a killer slipped through the city's veins, leaving traces only she could see. 2 bodies already, 1 life lost tonight. She slipped the dog tag into her pocket and stood beneath the lamppost, as if staking claim on the night itself. There was a new pattern emerging. Flowers discarded, items removed, faces erased. But within those patterns lay crumbs she would follow. She had to, because if she didn't, no one would. And he would strike again. Silence settled around her, complete and deafening. The empty streets offered no comfort, only the promise of what came next. Mara's jaw tightened. Bloodlines redrawn, she thought. But this one I will not lose. And with that unspoken vow, she turned back towards her cruiser and the chase that lay ahead.